say about the contract and when teachers start and when they end. But the reality is that working with kids in certain schools, you know, they may, you know, I look at my own kids. I have two wonderful kids at home. They read, you know, 3 or 4 grade levels above their reading level. I mean, they're phenomenal, but it's hard for me to keep track with what they're doing on their homework. And I have 2 master's degrees, so to ask two parents who are working and struggling and barely speak English to monitor what the child is doing at home, you know, they need some support too. And that's where, you know, you could create some type of bilingual website to communicate with those families. So having teachers post their assignments so parents know what's going on, or just communicating with those families and reaching out for them. Don't wait for them. Don't wait for the quarter when a kid has, you know, 5 Fs and before you make that contact. Then you can't always rely on the teacher. So create value for yourself in that situation. Probably the other thing that I would share with you guys, and these guys probably won't like what I'm going to say, but when we were talking about subs a while ago, yes, take the sub position. But at some point, you got to find out what you're in, okay? If you're in a position where you're behind a maternity leave or behind a medical leave, that's fine. It probably is going to go a little while and it's going to end, okay? But if you're in a vacancy, and districts like to try to, take shortcuts because it's much easier for me to keep you on as a temporary or to keep you on as a long-term sub than it is to hire you as a probationary employee and then go through a layoff process or a non-reelection to dismiss you. So if you're in a vacancy and you're in the vacancy for more than 75% of the year, you know, or you have started that position and then the district offered you a contract after you started the position, then you're by default a probationary employee. Okay? If you're in a legitimate temporary position and the district retains you for the next year, you automatically roll to a Pro 2 status. Okay? So there's some ed code rules that you can kind of, now I'm not trying to get you to go pound on the district personnel office and say, you know, you owe me a job. I'm just trying to get you to understand that if you continue to do medical leaves over and over again, you know, even though the principal may rave about you and like you and they're trying to keep you around until they can find a vacancy, I don't want the system to abuse you and try to keep you there because you're doing a great job. There's a vacancy somewhere, and it's going to be about timing for you. I mean, we've all been up here trying to, you know, giving you guys the doom and gloom, but there are jobs that are going to pop up. There's going to be jobs out there, and you're going to have to be willing to maybe move a little bit, or you know, you maybe have your heart set on staying in Laverne or Pomona or Rancho or West Covina or wherever you may live. You may have to go out of your comfort zone a little bit and go a little bit further. Look at districts that are growing. If they are, like right now, our district is declining by about 2% every year. We did have about 35,000 kids in our district. Now we have 28,000. So you want to look at some of those districts that are growing. If they're growing, it means there's a little bit more opportunity there.
One advice when you're doing interviews for counselors. One thing I expect from counselors is the thing that I think they teach, because everybody comes through, and I have a lot from the University of Laverne, comes in that, no, I get to counsel the kids, I'm not going to discipline anything. I'm not going to ask you to suspend kids, but if there's a point where the kid needs attention or needs something, I'm going to ask the counselor to step up and give small discipline. And if it's a big issue, then it goes to where then I can step in with it. Because I'm not going to go and talking with the student says, oh no, I need to stop, and I need you to, I can't counsel you because I'm not a counselor. I'm still going to talk to kids all the time, and I'm going to be doing that as assistant principal. And I expect us to work as a team. I think counselors are part of the administrative team and working with us. And so we bounce things back and forth all the time. We sit down and have lunch or have a meeting at least once a week of what's going on with you and where kids need some help and what's your advice on it. So when you go in those interviews and stuff, put yourself out there and says, yeah, I know I'm gonna have to do a little bit of discipline, and I'm gonna be there, and it's kind of like being the parent. We all get to choose, and when we're parents, we love our kids, they're gonna love us, we're still gonna discipline them. And as a counselor, you're not gonna lose their trust because you're disciplining them. You actually might even gain some more because they know that you're there to help them and mold them to do something.
So that was the last of my questions, and I'll open up to you guys. I asked you guys to write a question when you came in. I did have one, and they asked kind of going along with the last question I asked you guys, and if there's alternative avenues that they can be taking to gain experience. And one student asked, they're in the MS in Educational Counseling Program, would an alternative be social services, counseling in the jails? How does that look at home? School district.
I think any experience that you get dealing with people is going to help you at some point. Now, depending on what age group you're dealing with, if I'm in jail and I'm provided the privilege of going to a classroom, you will have no discipline problems in the classroom. First of all, I want to be there. And secondly, if I act up, I'm probably going to go in the hole for a couple of weeks. Or I'm going to lose that privilege. Or if it's a mandated program, it may be that my probation officer is going to come and, jack me up if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. It's tough. I mean, right now is a tough time in education, and I understand you guys have to pay your bills and pay your loans and all that other fun stuff, and I understand that. But if you can weather this budgetary storm and some of these challenges, and you truly want to become a school counselor or a teacher, try to weather it and do what you love, do what you want to do, because you're going to be so much happier than settling for something that you're settling for a paycheck. And I got to tell you, being in education, when I was first at Laverne, my major was criminology, and then I toured the 3 prisons out in Chino, the men and women's prison, the youth authority, and then when I was coaching at the same time, and I mean, it clicked for me. I said, I got to teach. Somebody's got to do something before kids get to this point. And I mean, the 3rd grade reading scores can tell you, basically how many prisons we need to build. So, I mean, if that doesn't say enough, I mean, what else can we say? So, just try to get through this tough situation and really network and create value for yourself and do what you love.
It'll show if you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
It'll show if you're doing what you don't love either. And the enthusiasm when you're doing your interview, that enthusiasm when you're working, that's what's going to get people to remember you.
Okay. When those people who are counselors, I know at the beginning, I don't want you to think that if you've never been in a classroom that you have that part. Don't get me wrong. You can get a lot of your experience by interning also, but here's the other thing I would tell you. If you are interning for a school, at some point each day, or at least once or twice a week, get into classrooms and see, especially if you've had no experience in teaching. Because as challenging as the kids can be, the teachers are 10 times more challenging than the kids. Okay? Because they're going to come to you and tell you every reason why that kid